Hi, Candice Guardino here. I am so excited because today I'm on the Italian Sicilians Do It Better podcast. This podcast is freaking awesome. So excited to be here because I'm going to be talking about my special. I'm going to be having some espresso with these guys and yeah, probably even a good cannoli.
Italian Sicilians do it better. Oh, can't you see? From cooking to comedy, it's pure family. Turn it up. This groove's for you. Queens in the house, bringing something true.
What's going on, everyone? We're back with a great one today. My favorite is in the house. Originally from Staten Island, Candice Guardino's in the building. What's going on?
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming.
Are you kidding me? Thank you guys for having me. I'm so excited to be here. This place is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
A full-on freaking studio here.
Don't
No
tell
joke.
everyone our secret.
I know, I'm not going to tell you. They're no joke.
Just like typical Italians, though, we do it in the basement.
Oh my God, I love it. Yeah, and if you let me in your front door, I'm kind of nice. But if you walk me, to the back of the, to the basement, it's
Means I don't trust you.
yeah, exactly. He's already giving a hand signal.
Exactly.
It's going over his face.
But love your show. I fell in love with it. Your voice.
Thank you.
It was a little bit of comedy, a little bit of drama, a little bit of singing. It was a wow.
Oh God, thank you. First off, isn't that all of our lives, like growing up Italian? Like Italian American, I'm sorry, Italian anything. You grow up with a little bit of drama, a lot of comedy. Someone's always singing in my household, and there's characters everywhere I go, right? Today I'm a little hoarse. Something's going on with my voice, but I do have a singing voice. But my husband has been real happy lately.
Great voice.
Thank you. My husband's like smiling because I'm nice and quiet these days.
We were watching.
Preserving my voice.
we were watching it, and then your voice came up, and my daughter came out of her room thinking we were watching a musical or something. I'm like,
Look at that.
great voice.
Oh, that makes me feel nice. Yeah. Or my father would be like, thank God all those years of paying college came, like, really like paid off because you know how that goes. Went to school for theater, so.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Your stage presence was so comfortable, so strong.
Thank you.
It was a pro, 100% a professional. So where did this all start for you? Like how?
I'm going to come here more often. Can you keep complimenting? Shit.
Listen, the truth is the truth. And
Exactly.
All right. How did it start? Dear Lord. Well, I grew up in Staten Island, but I grew up in like the dance world. And what I mean by that is I was like a competitive dancer, shy kid, believe it or not shy on stage, just shy everywhere else.
it's always the shy ones.
It is the shy ones. You got to watch out for the shy ones. And I was really quiet, like just growing up and trying to find my own way. But I loved the stage. I loved performing. And then somewhere throughout high school, I got into like my first musical. You know how that goes. And you're like meeting friends. And I was like, oh, this is fun. And then I realized I could sing. And I was like, oh, okay. I want to do this. And I went to college for it. I went to Wagner College. I met my husband. I sort of like found this place in this world where I was like, I'm going to audition for theater. And it wasn't going the way I wanted it to. Like I was getting called back and getting all the way to the end of Broadway shows, but I wasn't booking enough to be like, this is my calling.
It still felt like that's not you.
Something was missing, right? Exactly. Like it was always like, she's too short. Oh, she's too curvy. Oh, her accent came out. And I'm like, fuck. So I was never getting what I thought I was going to get. Right. So I said, you know what? I've always been in love with like the John Leguizamo one-man shows and like Whoopi Goldberg with like Lily Tomlin, old school. My grandmother used to play Lily Tomlin when I was a kid on TV. And I remember her changing characters. And I was like, I can do characters, meaning I can make fun of my family, no problem. I mean, we're all imitating each other 24/7.
Endless material.
Endless material. So then I just had this moment where I was like, all right, I'm going to get up and like a comedy club and I'm going to try out like 20 minutes. Shit, that was hard. Shit, that was hard because it's like I didn't train or know what stand-up comedy was, but I was like, let me see if these characters work. So I did that for a bit and, you find your way. And I was like, okay, this is funny. This isn't funny. And you start to pick apart. And then I sat down being a writer. I, love to write. I write films and TV and stuff like that. But I was like, I'm going to write a full-on 90-minute show. And that, again, took some time to find out what long stories work. Sitting in my mother's kitchen talking about meatballs and how that's what I learned about men through that.
Marcus,
The balls. That's how I learned about the birds and the bees with my grandmother. The balls. So, like, I wanted to make that an entire story. So it was like long-form comedies. And then I threw in the singing because I'm like, I love music. I'm so musical. I grew up in that world. So if I can combine it all into like one delicious show, that's what I wanted to do. So that's what Italian Bred is.
Yeah, and it was what sucked me into it real quick was I thought I was watching another comedy. And then as it went on, and then you sang, and then you changed sceneries, and she's playing so many different roles. I was like, wow.
Thank
Like
you.
now I'm like, this is something, you know? It was different. It was different.
Yes. And that's exactly what I get when people come to see my show. Like, I am so grateful every time I step out on stage when it's a packed audience, right? Because you're like, holy shit, like people came to see me. Like, I'm still always shocked by that, but it's so wonderful. And I always get the same reaction at the end of the show where it's like, I didn't expect that, but you just took me on a 90-minute roller coaster ride of your family. And now I feel like we know each other and we're hugging and kissing at the end of the show. And I hug like 600 people. And my mother's like, use your Purell. And she's all like grossed out by me because I just hugged everybody.
Rag of bleach.
Right,
just
exactly. Right. And like everyone who comes to see the show was like not Italian. It's like all walks of life. And that's like
Which is beautiful.
something I really wanted to do. I grew up Italian, but that does not mean that you have to be Italian to watch it, right? Everyone's got a family. We all got that nutso in the family. We all got the grounded one in the family. You know, we all get the quiet one. And that's what the family is. They're a bunch of dynamics just hanging together, and they all grow up together. Like every part of me is a little piece of someone in my life. That's what makes us.
Right.
So I really wanted to hit home on that, and then, you know, make it fun.
It was again, I could keep telling you how great it was.
Thank you.
But do you still phase what's your feeling when you're on stage? Are you still stage fright? Are you still cold and then you warm up to it? Like, are you past that stage?
Yeah, oh gosh. I never stage fright on stage just because I performed for so many years in musicals. Like I did a bunch of off-Broadway musicals and I toured for many years before I like really did Italian Bred. But here's the thing. When you're in a musical, there's 30 people on stage with you. There's even 2 people.
Right.
When you're by yourself, that is lonely.
Nothing to fall on.
Fuck, that's and especially when you're imitating and impersonating characters and you're trying to keep the story moving. Like I would always make this joke in the beginning where I would literally like, I'm lucky, my husband and I run a production company together, so he'll be like in the lighting booth and I'll be like, whose line is it? He's like, always your line. I'm like, God damn it, right, always my line. But it's that thing where you realize, okay, it's all on me. So I've had a few of those moments in the years of like working my craft that it's like, oh shit, okay, it's just me. So I gotta have like, everything's gotta be on. Do I feel like I ease into the show? I do what the audience does, which is I feed off of them and they feed off of me. Like in the beginning, sometimes they're quiet because they're like, oh, hi, and they're waving at me because they saw me on social media or like they brought their family and I love the people that are like, we're back. And I'm like, oh, and they, you know, followed me from Florida to LA and, you know, you sort of have to learn it together. The whole point of any sort of craft we do is it's an emotional journey. So when you come into the theater, I always say, close the doors. I try to make the theater smell like garlic. That was my mom's trick. When I had my first off-Broadway run of this, because I threw it off Broadway to just test it. My mom would bring garlic knots, homemade garlic knots, and just walk around the theater before the doors opened to make the theater smell like our kitchen. Because I wanted you to feel like you and I, just because I'm up here and you're watching, we are the same and we're about to like enjoy this together. So yeah, I love to do that feeling of just like we're all one. And I feel like for sure that's what I do even now when I start the show, depending on where I'm at. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a bumpy show or whatever it is. The audience is a different, you know, you go from city to city, people are different.
Absolutely.
And it's like, okay, is this going to land? And it kind of does every time. It lands in different spots, but it's awesome to see.
Yes. And your job, I'm saying this show is probably harder than a comedian because a comedian could pivot. You can't.
Yes.
You wrote the story already.
You have
Yeah.
to stick to what you got.
There, you know what's funny? Someone asked me the other day, they were like, have you ever changed the stories? I'm like, yeah, I'm the person. So sorry, you know, crew and stage people. I'm the person who's like right before going out. I'm like, okay, you know, on page 24, we cut to like the 2 lights and I'm like, I'm changing that entire story. The cues are the same, but all the words are differently. So don't follow the script. And they're like,
Thanks.
Candice. I'm like, I got to change up. Like I'm always changing the story. But you know, I did grow up theater. So like I got a full on script. I got 400 light cues in there. And it's because I know what I want the story to feel like. So I know there's a spot here, there's a gel here, you know, like, and so that's an interesting thing. It's different than stand-up comedy.
Yes.
Stand-up comedy is hard. I give it to what it is. And I also say what I do is hard too. It's just different.
Yes.
So it's just, you know, what works for you. And I've had to really stay true to be like, I'm a storyteller. I'm a storyteller because someone wants to be like, do stand-up comedy. And I'm like, don't act like that's just so easy. Like, you know, this is my world. My world is storytelling. I can sit and talk for hours about a story and morph into these characters, and there's probably music behind me somewhere. Like it's a full-on production every time.
So I don't want to ruin the ending for people who haven't watched.
Yeah.
Does this mean there's a continuation coming soon?
Yeah,
There you go.
of course. Doesn't our life continue? Right? It's like
Well, until it doesn't.
Dear God, Marcus. Yeah, until it's over.
Exactly.
Or as my mother says, all the recipes come in the coffin. I'm never gonna get that meatball recipe from her.
You can't. You just have to go back with a
I
shovel.
gotta go back
you know,
in.
this
I
is
gotta
how
shovel
is.
it up. But I'm dainty. I got nails. But yeah, there's of course there's the next one. Yeah,
Good.
because these characters are ever evolving.
Of course.
Now the show goes until I'm like getting into that world of like college, and now the next level is where I'm at now. I'm married. I have kids.
There's more to tell.
I have 3 kids. I have a 1-year-old and I have 2 71-year-old, boomers that I'm
Yes.
raising. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
That's hard.
My parents. There's a whole, it's a whole world. So yeah, there's more, of course.
Where is your family from?
Okay. So grandma was born in Italy, Sicily.
Mm.
Right
The
back.
best.
Yeah.
The question is though, where though? Because we get a lot of people say Sicily and they go like,
Right
I
outside
don't
of
wanna-"
Palermo.
There you go.
All right.
Come on now.
Okay.
Come on now.
Okay.
She came over. She was about 13, 14.
Okay.
My dad was born in Little Italy.
Okay.
So right on Spring and Mott Street in New York. My mom was born in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. And then my father moved to Bensonhurst, and that's how they met.
Place to be back in the day. Yeah.
So they were there until, God, the 80s. They married. My mother told me to say this. We got married in Our Lady Guadalupe Church. And I was like, okay, Mom, I'll make sure I say it. So it's very important to her. So yeah, and then they migrated to Staten Island when I was born. But I always laugh because if you ask my mom and you're like, oh my God, you went to Staten Island from Brooklyn. And she's like, I know, we moved to the country. To her, it was the country.
It was the country, yeah.
I guess that was the thing then. I don't think it's the country. I grew up in Staten Island.
It wasn't really developed at that point. Like
Yeah.
it was, but you're like, but now it's way different than what it was.
Yeah, forget it. Now you need $1 million to buy a 2-bedroom house.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Staten Island was where I was raised for sure.
But I'm going to guess, though, you were raised just like we were, right? The Sunday sauce, the food all day long, the loud families.
Yes.
People might think we're killing each other, but we're just laughing. That's.
I say this thing 100%. I grew up Sunday dinner. We called it sauce. I'm so sorry.
Don't be. We like that here.
Fuck with the gravy. I get that on stage. I'm like, this is not a joke. Like that material to me is like done and over, but it's
Oh,
also
thin.
like,
Yeah.
let me just get it out there now to let you know so we can move past it. But we grew up with sauce. But when I started dating my husband, he's not, not from Staten Island. I remember when we pulled up to the house and he was like, dude, your parents are fighting. We should come back. I was like, no, I want you to meet them. He's like, no, they're fighting. I'm like, they're not fighting. The windows were open and my mother was cleaning the freaking fire escape on our house. And she was just yelling to my dad, but they were just talking. So yeah, we yell all day.
Talking consists of, what are you, an asshole?
Yes. Or my house is always, what?
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 Yeah.
Everyone's saying what?
Everyone has a hearing problem now.
Everyone's got a hearing problem.
What
is
or are
it?
you crazy? It was one of the two things coming out of the mouth.
Yes. Are you crazy?
So I'm not sure if you could relate. Like I could talk about this back in the day stuff all the time. I think this is one of the reasons why we started this show was to bring out the old good times because they're definitely fading.
Yeah.
Everything is like one thing I really miss are the long tables of family, 20, 30 people just having dinners.
Yep.
Like it was normal.
Yeah.
And you had to get a plywood to go across all of them to make them one.
100%.
Yeah.
Today, it's almost like it's a disturbance to have 10 people in your house. Like, oh my God.
Who's coming over now?
Yeah.
Now it's like, no, our house, we still do like the big holidays and the big things. Here's the thing. I grew up with, like you said, the long dining room table. We still have a kids table. Like you don't graduate from that kids table till you actually get married. Otherwise you're sitting there at, 22 years old with 5-year-old cousin Gino. Like that's how it works in our house. But we have like the long, mom's got the long dining room table. We all sit there. Everyone's yelling at each other. Everyone's passing food back and forth. Like we try to preserve that as much as we can. But that's a big reason why I wrote the show too, because like you just said, I didn't want to forget. I didn't want to forget certain things that went on in my house. I didn't want to forget that like at the end of the day, I love my father, but he was so hard on me in the sense that you didn't just get a medal. even though I was the girl, you would think, you know, dad would princess. My father owned an auto body shop across the street from Yankee Stadium. He taught me how to change tires. He oil changed it, like whatever I had to do. And he was always like, listen, Candice, you're nice, but you know, you're not that great. And it was like, you know, nothing was ever like, you're amazing. And as much as that sounds harsh today to parents, right? It was like, there was always some truth to there. So even till this day, if I want to get an answer out of my father and I want the real answer, I go to dad. Because dad's going to be like, all right, here's the deal. And he's going to lay it low. And he's just going to tell me the truth. And I trust it. Where I'd never feel like he's never sugarcoating it. So if I'm like, to be quite honest, here we go. If I'm PMSing, I don't go to my father because I'll just start crying. Because he'll be like, please, Candice, you know? So, but yeah, that I grew up hard. But I'm proud of that.
But what that does is that keeps you humble.
Does it?
It does.
I try. No.
It does. No, it does. Because when you have that person in your life, like you said, your father's up there, you sit on his opinions and his thoughts. And if he were to blow you up, let's just say, then you become something that you may not be. Yeah. But if he says, listen, you're good, but let's just keep it here, you could glide with that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to lie. Got the special. Got it distributed. Apple, Amazon, they're putting it on. Like, that's a big freaking deal in my eyes. To anyone else, whatever.
No, it is.
It's right. I tell my parents over the phone, and my mother's like, great, what time are you coming over for dinner? Because I cook so much that I don't want this going to waste. I was like, Mom, Dad. Like, it was like, hello.
Like, you didn't just say you're going on TV. It's the same thing,
very, yeah, of course.
So
and then,
they don't really get it, right? Is that what it is?
I think they get that, like, Candice is doing her thing. Like, my mom and my dad have always been supportive. My dad was like, no one's better than you when you're up there. When you're up there. You know, he's done that for sure. He's an Italian dad that's like, you're my kid. You're good because you're from me. Right. Right? So there's that. But I don't think they get the business because the business is crazy, right? 1 minute it's up, 1 minute it's down. 1 minute you're great, 1 minute you suck. And then it's like, oh, 1 minute you're hot, 1 minute you're not. So you have to stay true. But I do think that they're proud of their kid. You know, they're Italian or not, you're proud of your kid when your kid does something, right? And he was like, okay, you did the thing. You making any money?
That's
the bottom line.
That old school mentality, if you're not working with a hammer, it's like you're not doing anything.
Correct.
So it's hard to break this thing, like what we're doing.
Yes.
They think,
do your parents get podcasting?
oh no,
They have no idea, right?
are you in the basement today too?
Are you in the basement? Yeah, like my mother was literally like, you going on a podcasting? I'm like, yes, I'll be on a podcasting, Barb.
Mother goes, what are you bitching about today? And I'm like, I don't know.
See, your mother's not half wrong though. It's kind of great.
She's not.
It's the truth though, like to get them on our wavelength. They grew up in such a different time, but there's so much value in it of what they know. And I grew up also too, you respect your elders.
100%.
You didn't make him feel bad. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm going to sound like an old fogey. I'm like kids today. I have a 1-year-old son. When my mother and my father come over, I'm like, hug them, kiss them, right? Like that's the thing. And he's learning. He's only 1. But I noticed today people don't really do that as much. It's sort of different, right? I was like, nah, that can't go away. Because till this day, my grandmother's passed. And I got to tell you, I respect that woman. That woman came from nothing. She was a single mom raising a kid in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, you know, trying to make money as a seamstress and doing what she had to do and had some, you know, mob issues and all the things the rest of us went through. And I saw what she did for my dad, who then was able to build an auto body shop out of nothing. That I was like, we got to respect that woman. She hustled, right? And like, I think there's value in that. And I don't want to forget that. That's why I write that stuff down.
I already know things are going to go down the shithole when I see family members giving each other handshakes. And I'm like, that's it. We're over as a society. It's over. There's no love.
There's no. I mean, you come over our house, we're hugging and kissing.
Right.
In a second.
Yeah.
COVID, this, that, flu, whatever season.
Bring it over here.
Forget it. I was like, everyone, we just hug each other. I mean, my husband, when I first brought him over, I'll never forget, my father hugged him, not because he was like, we're friends. It was just, this is what we do. Yeah. And gave him a kiss over here. My husband was like, what just happened? I'm like, oh no. Get used to it, buddy. We're kissing everyone and hugging.
Yeah.
Just welcome in. That's it.
That's how we are. Like, if we're going out, it's a kiss hello and a kiss goodbye and come back. It's not just one time or whenever I see you. It's just that habit in me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say goodbye. I'm gonna kiss you goodbye.
Right.
Oh, 100%.
Well, I try to do the Irish goodbye as much as possible because it's like I don't got that kind of.
Now it gets bad.
Be careful with this one. He attacks the lips.
You go for the lips.
If I like them.
Look at you. Right on that lip. Everyone's got that one person that they're like, don't say goodbye to me because you on the lips.
That's crazy. I still haven't seen that yet, and I want to be in a room when that happens
No, it's
so I
gonna
can
be
watch
you.
it.
You're
no,
owning it.
I'm not going to do that.
It's wonderful. Own it.
No, I can't do that. I can't. That's too much. That's way too, like, then there's a commitment, and I can't do that. I can't. It's not me.
I love it.
I don't know what it is. Like, you keep explaining to us your dad, and this is how I tell me if I'm right, the way I'm visioning him.
Yeah.
In a guinea tea with these big fingers with the grease still stuck in his fingertips.
100%.
Anybody there?
Under a car.
Under a car.
In the driveway.
And 3 out of 4 conversations, somebody's an asshole.
Someone's an asshole.
There you go.
And he's always, with the finger,
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
finger, with the
the
finger.
fucking thing, yeah.
And then he's always giving me a piece of advice.
Oh, yeah.
Don't say nothing.
But
Keep your mouth shut. You know what I mean? Don't bother him. This one's crazy. The whole thing. I mean, literally, I grew up with a father under a car in our driveway. Just always fixing something. I'd come home. He'd be like, where'd you go? I was like, I'm at school. Oh, what day is it? I'm like, it's Tuesday. So I'm going to go to the shop. He had no idea what school we were at. He don't know what grade I was in.
No,
He didn't know nothing.
no.
But it's not because he didn't care.
no.
It was because
That's how it
he's got to
was.
put food on the table.
Right.
Like
That's how
that
it
was
was.
his,
Right.
your mother will take care of it. There's a big joke in our family, and it's not a joke, but it's actually really true. We had dance recitals, and my father would literally be like, listen, don't make me come to this dance recital if you're going to be in one number and I got to sit there for 2 hours and I got to leave the shop with 47 cars that I got to fix. Right. So we didn't invite my father until we were in like 10 dance numbers. And then he would come and then he'd film the wrong girl. He'd be like, I don't know. They all look alike. So it was the same, but he tried. He did what he could. He was supportive for sure. He still is.
The one time you saw him, though, it was like special.
So special.
Right.
The one thing I'll never forget, now with touring and I'm up on stage and I go from city to city, he runs my merch table. Wait a minute. I could have the theaters do it, but I'm having him run the merch table because he gave me a talking and he was like, I want to handle the money.
Yes.
I want to know what's coming and going.
Family banker.
The family banker. And I was like, you act like there's millions of dollars. There's not millions of dollars, but that was his thing. So now I'm really proud when I see him in the, his little Italian Bred t-shirt because he's proud of that. And it's also because I'm proud of that because I came from that. That's us. That's who we are. That's who most people are.
When did it hit for them? And I like to stay on the topic of your parents because it's so relatable.
Yeah.
When did it hit for them, like them watching you, be like, wow, she's really doing it. Like, it's really happening.
You know what? If you ask my mom, she's super shy. My mom would it's just the quiet one in the back. But she said when I was about 4 years old, dancing on stage, and all the little girls are crying, and one kid at the end just kept going, singing, tapping, and it was me. And I remember, she showed me the video, and it was really true. All the kids are running off stage. So she was like, right then and there, I knew we were screwed. I was like, she wants to do this thing. My dad, he had hit in college. In college, I went to a conservatory for theater, and I got a big lead my senior year. And he came and saw it, and as he says, the papers came and reviewed her. And the papers were good. The reviews were good. Whatever they were. I don't remember what they said, but he had it posted in the house.
Yeah. Frame them up.
He kept making photocopies of them at Staples.
Oh, he was proud.
Oh, he was so proud.
He was proud.
And he was like, you did the thing. And I was like, I know, Dad. See, he's like, oh, thank God. I wasn't sure if you were good. I was like, so, he had that moment where he was like, I'm not sure. And then all of a sudden, it hit him. Yeah. So he's a proud dad. I will say that. He is a proud dad. He's rough around the edges.
No, who isn't?
Are you kidding me? Sometimes I come off stage and he's like, I'm like, yeah, okay. It was a bad one. It is what it is.
I give it to you. Yo, it was shit. All right, whatever.
When it hit for me, it was funny. It was because I used to be, I'll call it partners with a radio station 15, 20 years ago. And it was always, I worked at night. I worked at clubs, But there was more than just to the club. And then one day, my mom heard my name on the radio. And she called me. She goes, was that you? I'm like, what do you think I'm doing? What do you think I'm doing?
What do you think I'm doing here? That's great. She must have loved it, though.
But for years, she probably thought I was selling drugs in the nighttime tunnel or something.
Yeah. Oh, well, for years, my dad used to do this thing of like, Candice just doing her thing. And I was like, what's my thing, Dad? For you not to understand it. Auditioning is weird to parents. It's like, what do you mean you audition? I would get my, I'm in the Broadway unions. I would get my little audition cards and wait online for hours. And he was like, what, do they pay you to wait online? I was like, no. He's like, do they pay you to go in there and sing? I was like, no.
It's the hustle. Yeah.
He's like, what are you doing? So it was really hard for them to get that.
I'm hooking, Dad. What the fuck you think I'm doing?
Listen, I don't know. Maybe I would have made more money. I should have did that. I would have tried anything. I really would have, but it was not the avenue. For me at that time, it really wasn't. So it was like, you take everything you write it down, you make it something. Hopefully people freaking like it. You don't know. That's a chance you take. But I knew one thing: family's family. That's all I knew, and I know how to tell a story. And I love story. I mean, I'll watch a storyteller any day because I'm like, just take me there. Right. Whatever that is, I'll read a good book.
Most definitely. And that was another thing I liked about watching your show. It felt more family oriented. Like I didn't mind having my oldest watch it with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. When I wrote it, I was like, I want to make sure the 10-year-old who gets swears in the house. Like I'm a 10-year-old who grew up with everyone swearing because I do swear.
Clean mouth.
I mean, I had a dirty mouth. The 10-year-old and the 110-year-old can both sit there and be like, yeah, we get it. Because one character out of the whatever 10, 8 I'm impersonating at the time can latch onto a character. One person sitting there could be like, I get that character. So I really wanted that. But I'm not gonna lie, I had backlash in the beginning where it was like, can you tell more raunchy stories? That would be more sellable. Can you be more controversial? That would be more sellable.
Can you?
You'll go viral. And I was like,
yeah, that's the thing today. It's just.
But that's what it is. It's the market. That's what people want.
Right.
People want that. And
people want to argue over something. And by the way, I'll argue all day with my family. But it's like, that's not my style. It's my thing is just telling my story. I just want to share my story. And if it, relates to you, then I'm like, yes, then I feel like we've connected and we're friends now. And that feels really good. That's always been the goal.
So my thing here is, and he always brings it up, and that's what I do, because you know me, but at this point a little bit.
I feel like I do. I feel like we're really close. At this point.
So then at this point, I'm gonna ask you something.
Yeah.
He loves this stuff.
I love it.
Okay.
I need to know one of the worst moments on stage, whether it's with the audience or I love those fucked up little maybe little thing back and forth or maybe
I have to adjust my seat for this one.
Go ahead, because I know you have some. Everyone has some. I asked this to pizza guys, and they're like, I got this one customer coming here.
Delivery guy, what's the worst delivery you ever had?
I swear to God, and they'll get them, and I'll get them always, and they're always a killer.
His follow up to me would be your best time on stage.
Right.
Okay. So the worst. All right. So I'm humble beginnings. I did 10 people, houses in the beginning. I moved to LA. No one knew me. I had a few people who saw me in New York. I funded my first off-Broadway run of my own, version of Italian Bred. It got a little eyes. I brought myself to LA with my husband. We had, $3 in the bank, and I always say blow up furniture because all I remember is fucking blow up furniture. I don't know what that was about. It was just in our
I need
little
air
apartment.
for everything.
Everything was just blow up.
That's what this is.
Blow up the table, babe.
Blowing up furniture, blowing up my mattress. I don't know what the fuck that was about, but that's how we lived. And we got this little theater, and it wasn't even that little. It was 100 seats. That's a big deal in LA. To get LA people to go to theater is harder than New York. New York was easier. We did well in New York. And in the LA theater, there was maybe 25 people there that night. Okay. And I was like, okay, I did what I could. I got to run this show. I got to work the material. I'll try some new stuff, whatever. And there was an open bar at this theater.
That's dangerous.
With 20 people. And the front row, and my husband, like I said, is a part of my production company. So he runs all the lights and stuff, and he knows the show, and he calls the cues, whatever. And in the middle of the show, this, I'm going to say 50-something-year-old woman and her 90-year-old husband / boyfriend / I don't know what was sitting next to her, and he was trashed to the point where he was falling asleep and falling over. Now, the way the theater's structured is like the front row is at the lip. So I'm on the same plane as the people sitting in the front row, and then the seats go up. So front row people, we're eye to eye. You can stand up and you're on the stage with me, sort of thing.
Jesus.
So he starts falling over, and I'm like, oh, this guy's really drunk. So I was like, I'll make it work if he falls. And then he just passed out. I was like, oh, we're all good. 2 seconds later, she must have maybe drank. I wasn't paying attention to what she was doing. She gets up on stage. She's like, I could shoot a shoe. And she starts to walk towards me. And I'm like, oh, I have to stay in character. So I'm trying to stay in character. And then my husband comes down the steps because we realize she's trying to grab me and pull me. And he's like, ma'am, have a seat. She's like, sorry, I'm going to say a bad word.
Go ahead.
She's like, it's really bad.
I don't
so
care.
You can censor it
Don't
out.
care.
She's like, get off me, you beep.
Mark that.
And I know I should have stayed, the professional girl, the theater trained girl should have stayed in character. But I locked eyes with my husband and I just lost it. I just started laughing. I'm like, you called him. I was like, it was just the funniest, worst, weirdest moment. And then we had to escort her out, and she vomits.
Stop it.
The lane to get out of the theater. But like I said, it's a raked theater. So the seat's going up. She's vomiting up the steps. And the whole audience of 20-something people were all just like,
Ew.
3
And
years
then
we're doing this.
how do you do
Top
that?
Top three story.
How
Go
awful
ahead.
is this?
This is top 3 story in the 3 years we've been doing this.
Really?
Keep going. Yeah.
It gets worse. She
Shut up!
Yeah, it's really fucking
You're
bad.
fighting for one now.
And she vomits going up. And then the theater, like I said, it's kind of small.
Yeah.
So there's a door that closes. Then you're in the theater. Like that's the way it was. It was like a little like, swinging door, but it locked. So she goes out and you hear the door go boom. And then the whole audience looks to me and I'm like, I guess I got to keep going. And then she goes, faggot! And you hear it again. And she's yelling it and you hear it through it was just awful.
I thought you were gonna say she tumbled down the stairs back on the stage with you.
And rolled in her own vomit like marinade. Sorry, I'm a visual person. Yeah, I know, right?
But then the worst part is I had to continue the show with the vomit on the floor.
Stop.
Do you know what that theater smelled like? Those garlic knots did not live. They didn't survive. It was so bad. That was probably one of the worst shows I've ever had.
All right,
What's
so
wrong
top
with
2.
people? Why would you get so trashed?
Trash.
At a show, you're supposed to
that's
enjoy
what
it.
happens.
She was in spike. Just imagine this woman, spike heels, short. And at first I was like, oh, how cool. She's coming up on stage. I'll make it work. And then I'm like, oh, she's trashed. Oh, she's yelling at me. Oh, she just called my husband a bad word. Oh my God, she's vomiting. Like all the thoughts that were going through my brain. I was like, oh my God, she's falling. Like it was all bad.
And you got to stand there and stay in character and ignore it all. And Jesus.
Yeah.
No, there's only so much you could ignore. At that point, you got to make that the highlight of the show. It's like, hey,
We
listen,
all laughed about it after.
You had
like
to.
me and the 20 people. We all literally were like, okay, let's get back to it. And then I had to do a whole bit of what my grandmother would have said if this was, a part of it. I just had to go into something. And then everything was okay. But it took but then the smell stayed. So it wasn't that great.
Fuck that, man.
It was fucking bad.
It's disgusting.
Everybody to go home and shower.
And I'm pretty sure you have to prep for that from now on because you never know. It's like you bring a bottle of Lysol with you somewhere. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, just making sure, if somebody
I always
wants to
have
vomit.
Purell off stage now. It's like
Exactly.
something. But that was really bad.
Insane.
And then you always get the people on their phones.
oh, yeah. Well,
That's not a bad show to me.
No.
Hello? I'm like,
Oh, stop.
you're sitting in the front row, lady. You got 500 people
I think you
behind
meant
you.
like they're scrolling through
Can
social.
I call you back? I'm at the show. And I was like, how do you turn this off? I was like, we'll just wait. We're going to wait for Matilda in the front. I'm like, what the hell? So you do get that. But that stuff doesn't bother me. It
Well,
makes me laugh.
yeah, I could see that. But like, damn, did you actually pick up the phone?
So you,
Oh,
need,
yeah.
you need patience too.
To which I have none.
You have none.
0.
Yeah, don't get up on stage.
Nope. I was told I would be pretty good at doing comic. Your brother kept telling me, dude, we'll do an open mic. You can go up there, you'll kill it. I'm like, probably, then I'll kill somebody. Don't put me up there.
Yeah.
Don't put me up there.
Here's the thing. You go to perform, stand up, whatever it is, you're going to get people that shout things at you, right? Like when I first started in comedy houses, it's not my world, but like I had to like deal with some people shouting shit. And the first shit they always shout at me, go figure, is they're like, turn around, let me see your ass.
Are
I was
you
like,
serious?
oh my God.
Oh my God.
I was like, I'm turning.
Great reaction. I love that one. That's good.
Are you serious? You've never seen a curvy girl before?
That's insane.
You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes people lose themselves and you got to figure out a way to check them back.
Right.
You know how many times I've gotten that? Turn around. And I'm like, I'm turning.
No, it's
I taught my 1-year-old to do this.
That's awesome, dude. That's fucking great. I love that.
Tell us your best moment on stage.
Oh, man. I'm going to get sentimental. But, okay. So the best moment I've ever had on stage, I was actually out in LA. Like I said, my husband and I went out. We did the thing. We're going to like try to see if audiences like it out here. And I remember my mom called, and my parents don't travel. What I mean by that, they don't get on a plane. No.
They came.
We're not doing that. We're not coming to LA. We're not coming to LA. And I was performing the show, and it was in the middle of the show, and I have this big ballad number where I'm singing like a ballad. It's the moment. And I see through the doors both my parents standing. And I was like, oh shit,
You choked up?
they came. I did. I'm choking up right now. And I was like, oh my God, they came. I was like, they got on a plane. I was like, oh fuck, I'm never gonna hear the end of this. You know what I mean? Like they're happy they're
You
here.
pay for it.
While holding
Yeah.
the tune.
But while holding the tune, I was like, oh wow, that was really great. And I saw them, I saw my husband, and then I saw my cousins who live in California, but they're like 2 hours away. No one told me, and they all got together. And it was at a moment in my, beginning of my career where I didn't know what I was really doing, if I was making them angry or proud or whatever it was. And me, myself, I was still figuring it out. So that till this day, and that was years ago, that was the most amazing moment.
That's awesome.
And then I have all those, I I call them micro moments when I'm standing on stage and I see someone like grab their husband's arm or laugh with their daughter and high five over something I just said. And I'm like, they related to that. So those are like little dopamine hits for me where I'm like,
Glad you said that. I always wonder, what does the person on stage see? Or what do they look at? I'm guessing they just look for emotions?
It's a feeling too. Like you feel like, it sounds really funny. Years ago, I sat down with a comic, Billy Gardelli, such a sweetheart. And he said to me, you'll know by energy. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, when you're on stage, and I felt this as a performer in theater, it's just a little different. When someone's clapping a lot, you'll feel it's louder on one side of the theater. And you're like, okay, I got this side. I don't have to work as hard on this side when I'm walking over here. Now, let me try to grab this side to be a part of me more. And they laugh louder. The laugh is louder over there. And then before you know it, the laugh balances out.
Waves, yeah.
You train yourself to be an empath.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I'm in therapy.
It didn't work for me, as we could see.
No, you kidding me? I'm therapy. I write shows.
I'm guessing this is your therapy.
This is my therapy. This is it.
Right.
I'm going to go home, have a nice cup of tea, and this is my therapy. But yeah, for sure, you feel the energy of the audience, and you're like, okay, the laughs like sort of blend, and then you're like, now I got everyone. But you don't get everyone immediately. You got to earn that. That takes a second. Sometimes it kills in the first like 2 seconds. Sometimes I walk out and say hi, and they're screaming, and I'm like, oh, great. I don't have to work that hard tonight. What happened? Sometimes it's quiet, and you're like, you got to figure that out. But the micro moments of like grabbing or someone like standing and clapping, whatever that is, it just feels like I feel like I got them and they feel like they got me. And that's a gift that like I can't.
You're connected. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't give that up. That is just such a high for me. And being on stage, depending on the house, like most of my houses are like 500 seat houses. Those are my favorite. You see with about the first 6-8 rows, and then it gets dark. And then you see the exit sign. Sometimes you can see up if there's a balcony, but I like to move my lights a lot because I want to be able to see them. But at the end of the show, I got to put all the lights up because I want to see everybody.
Right.
I do.
That probably hits, right? Hits you. Yeah.
I always try to take a selfie with everyone. It takes me an hour because I'm like, I can't say, but yeah, I'm tired. But yeah, I love seeing everyone.
So you've done this show in New York and LA. Anywhere else?
Yeah, Chicago. I've toured. Oh God, I've done Rhode Island, Carolinas. I mean, I've kind of gone everywhere. I'm doing this last year is like the last tour of this version. And the little mixes I'll add in as we go, but this is the big hurrah.
I gotta know, is there a place where you went and like, why the fuck am I here?
Why the fuck am I here? Let me
There's gotta be a state for that.
Maybe my husband will know. Top, shout it out. I don't remember. A place that I was like, why the fuck?
I feel like that would be more like Ohio.
You know what?
See, I fucking knew it.
Wait,
There's a lot of Italians there, though.
Dude,
Yeah.
I went to Cleveland,
there's a lot,
Ohio.
yeah.
It's packed.
Packed.
Wow.
They was screaming.
Really?
And I was like you. I was like, I'm in Ohio. They're
And
not
there's a
gonna
lot of
get me.
Sicilians in Ohio.
Sicilians.
Yeah.
They were one of the best crowds I've ever had.
Holy shit.
Shocked.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a little like, oh boy. The only other place, I've done a lot of South Florida. Floridians are nice. It's just a different audience.
Yeah, that's what.
They're a little more reserved
Are they?
in some way.
Okay.
They had dinner. They're coming to watch a show.
Okay.
They may fall asleep. They may not.
That's fine.
And then they wake up and then they're like, oh, she's lovely. There's a little, it's depending on where you are. And then you get like the screamy people, depending on what
Right.
time the show is. I could do a 3:00 show. I can do an 8:00 show. That's what I love too.
Right.
I love, sometimes I could do an afternoon show because this product can lend to that. This is a theater piece.
The
so you can do that.
people. The accessoride people. Yeah,
Correct.
That's good. Yeah.
Never, honestly, and I'm not trying to like toot my own horn at all. I've never gone on stage and been like, oh shit, no one gets this. I have been up here for 60 minutes lost. I've never had that.
That's good.
Never had that.
That's awesome.
It's always someone, something, you always like, all right, that worked. Not everyone got it, but you can't please everyone. I can't move ceiling tiles here, people, because some people want you
expect
to.
you to.
They want you to.
expect you to.
Yeah, they do.
We don't do that.
Exactly. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Would you ever consider going outside of the U.S.?
You know what? I've been asked to go to Toronto, and I feel like it's time.
Yeah. that would be
Canada, and I feel like I haven't done it. I feel like I need to do that because I hear there's a lot of Italians there.
cool. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I know, I got to do it. And I think they love theater. So this will be a sort of exciting, anyone who wants me to
Maybe Australia.
That's gonna be your three. It's gonna be your top three.
take me.
Oh, I'm not gonna go. I ain't sitting on a fucking plane for 20 fucking hours. Get out of here. You better fucking shoot me. I'm done.
You're like my mother, I'm not getting on the plane.
Yeah, no, I don't mind getting on a plane.
get on a plane.
I don't mind getting on a plane.
Yeah.
20 hours, you lost your fucking mind.
I know. What are you doing?
My stomach does this thinking about
What are you
it.
doing in that time?
You have to be on drugs.
I always say, Die Hard, A Few Good Men, Titanic, and then what the fuck am I watching? I can't. I'm out. I can't. I got to get off the plane. Yeah. No. For sure.
And then the smells. Because old people, they know how to hold in their gases.
Yeah.
And then the kids, they're good too.
No.
They're good too.
I'll only bring my 1-year-old on like the Florida flight
That's fine.
for 2 hours. He's coming with me next week. We have a bunch of sold out shows in Florida. He'll come with me. It's 2 hours. After that, I think it's hard to bring a kid on a plane. It's hard.
It can be, yes.
hard.
It also depends because I've seen kids as little as 1 year old that they're great on long flights. I've flown to Italy with little kids like that, knocked out the whole time. I'm good. We gave the parents $1 each. Like, you know, you did a great job knocking them out. You know, they, you know, whatever.
They did a little NyQuil. It worked.
What? Benadryl is the way to go. I'm just saying, like, they did a good job with that, but it depends on the kid. You know, old people don't travel well at all.
I don't do well
ever.
on planes. Don't worry.
You won't get on a plane.
No, he won't.
Are you afraid? I'm just curious. Are you afraid? Because my sister won't
I'm
either.
afraid.
My sister has to talk to the pilot, the people. She wants to know if it's going to crash. She needs to know if there's enough fuel. I'm like, just stay home.
Yeah, but that's
Is that how you feel?
not about the pilot. My thing is, I just want to get back home with where I'm going alive. I don't want to crash.
Control.
It's the air. You're in the air.
Yeah, I'm not in control. I guess.
You'll drive anywhere.
Oh yeah. He will.
I've driven to Florida more than I've flown there.
Are you those people who are like, drive to Florida? Do it. You're trying to convince us. You can't
And
convince
I'll
me.
do it in 20 hours nonstop.
Holy shit. No, I can't do it.
I took him with me.
I'm sitting there. I'm up with you, bro. I'm up. Don't touch me. I'm up. And I'm trying to feel because I don't want to knock out on him.
No, I'm the worst passenger seat.
Oh no, I'm good for
not
a while.
Out.
No.
Out.
I'm good for the first 10 hours. Fuck you on the rest of it. I'm trying. I'm sitting. He goes, "Oh, you fell asleep." I'm like, I'm trying not to.
100%.
I'm like, some support.
Some support.
Some support. Just because he's hyped up on methamphetamines, driving 20 hours straight, I'm supposed to be up with this?
I would be on like 10 cups of coffee. I don't even know how you do that. I can't do it.
No, I can't.
I could do it.
You know how the cars today go like with the coffee thing?
Yes,
up
like
and it's
wakes you up and the car shakes.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you need more coffee.
You don't know that?
Oh, cars do that now.
What?
Oh, they like fucking wake you up and the little coffee symbol comes
it
on.
It censors your eyes.
Stop.
And if you doze off, the car will actually shake.
Are you
Yeah,
serious?
to wake you up.
I want my radio to scream like, "I'm gonna crash!" And I'm like, "What the fuck? That's better than coffee."
It shakes you. Like the car does this. And mine,
crazy.
But it's supposed to do that after like hours on the road. Mine does that from here to like freaking, A and P.
Are you serious?
And it's like 20 minutes and my car's shaking. I'm like, all right. I'm like the worst long distance driver.
But isn't that why the roads have those cuts on
That
the
is, yeah.
side?
The car also brakes.
Yeah.
Like it.
First of all, I don't like my car telling me what the fuck to do. That's number one.
Get ready.
No,
Get
that's
ready. It's
bullshit.
going to get worse.
That explains why he's not married.
Oh, you don't like telling? Okay. You don't want.
I turned the volume off on my GPS.
Yeah.
Here's just to know a plain story about me. Not too long ago, I had to go to Florida for work.
Yeah.
And just my luck, we're all waiting. The flights are delayed. I'm already a nervous wreck because the guy gets on the speaker and says that there's a physical problem with the plane. They're trying to fix the computer.
I might get off.
I'm like, why aren't we changing planes?
Yeah, I might get off.
Right? So then while we're sitting there for like 4 hours, I'm watching this one lady just go back and forth, piss drunk.
Oh, again with these drunk women.
What are the chances she has to end up sitting next to me? It actually was me at the window, my friend, and her. Now, we're about to take off, and I'm looking at her, I'm like, she's going to blow. Like, she's a... As soon as we're going up, whwa, just came out all over the floor, and you seen the vomit just go down the aisle. Exactly. So now nobody can help her because we're taking off. She's half passed out. My buddy's like, Frank, his leg's on top of my leg. So then we're leveled off. The stewardess come and say to us, can you guys please stand up? I'm like, no, I ain't fucking moving. I put my belt, the belt don't come clean around me. I won't get up.
Yeah, you're done.
I sat there, I lifted my legs for them. I'm like, go ahead.
Clean under. Yeah, that's gross though. I couldn't survive that. Listen, I get flying sucks. Like it's not great. No. Remember old school flying, like when they, Pan Am days? Everyone got all dressed up. Not that we were alive then, but it's like that old school, like 60s when you watch those movies. I'm like, wow, that's nice. People used to like fly like that. Or they used to go see a Broadway show and they have mink. I love all that. Times changed.
Now you have to have a gun on you. You got to make sure that, you parked in the right spot.
Oh, the parking, get out of here. Yeah, totally. No, I get it.
What can we expect next?
Oh my God, what can we expect next? Well, I'm a writer too, so I have a book coming out soon. I'm really excited. Yeah, it's a comedic essay book. It's got a lot of family recipes in it. And I write film and TV, so there's some things from projects of films and TVs in the work.
That's nice.
Yeah, I mean,
I love that.
telling stories. That's like whatever medium we can tell it. That's my goal. And always to bring joy, because at the end of the day, I feel like we all just freaking need to laugh at this shit, right? Because life is,
We do enough crying.
Even though we do it, a lot of what's going on today, I'll blame social media.
Yes.
It's people either too sucked in,
Too sucked in.
or they're just believing anything.
That's right.
People forgot to laugh.
At themselves too.
Yeah.
I laugh at myself all day long. Like, and it's not because I find myself funny. It's because if I don't laugh, I'll cry. I was like, I'm just gonna laugh at this, right? So for me, it's like, however I can tell a story, I will.
Absolutely.
You know, I have some podcasts that are gonna come out too, because it's like, again, another medium and stuff. So I will keep you all
You
posted.
host your own show.
I do. I also have a podcast with a friend of mine, my friend Sarah. It's called Don't Start, because we just keep talking. It's like, don't start. Go on to the next topic. But it's, you know, female empowerment too. And also just, we love to interview people that like inspire and like have really just shared their journeys of whatever struggle they're going through, and bring joy. Like, that's the big thing for us. But yeah, I love it. And I'll always be performing. I'll probably, when's the next special? I got asked that recently. Not yet, but it's coming. It's coming.
Hopefully this time Netflix, you know, I don't know.
Netflix is coming to Jersey.
Amazon had a taste. Apple had a taste. I think it's time for Netflix to get
Listen,
a taste.
I love Italian movies. I'm such a thing of like you know, the Martin Scorsese's, the Goodfellas. God, I love it.
me
I
too.
just had this moment where I'm like, give me a female's perspective on it. Just curious. I love the male perspective. I grew up in that world, but I also grew up in a matriarchal household too, and like shit went down. We weren't just in the kitchen. So there's that element of that I'd love to bring to light in the coming years. So fingers crossed.
Like a mob mom.
Like a mob mom. Oh, that's please. It's my mother today. Are you kidding me? She's nuts.
So before we wrap this up, I always like to ask, if you have something inspiring to tell us, what is it and what would you tell us?
Something inspiring, I'm going to say two things, because it's something that I keep striving to live by. Maya Angelou has a quote, and I'm paraphrasing because I'm a big paraphraser, but there's a quote and it's hanging up in my house where it's, people may forget what you said, people may forget what you did, but people will never forget the way that you make them feel. And that's so important. Always try to make people feel good. So that's something really inspiring that I keep to myself. The other thing I would say is trust yourself. Be authentically you, because I feel like there's a lot of noise today. And I keep having to tell myself this, where it's like, you could go left, you can go right, you could be this one thing, you can be this other thing, you can be this way, that way. Be you, because you wins every time. So just be you.
I can't thank you enough for giving us the opportunity of you sitting here.
You kidding me? Thank you.
This was awesome.
Thank you guys. I love what you guys are doing. And thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Please let everybody know where they could find you, where on Apple and Prime they could see you.
Yes.
And hopefully part 2 is coming soon.
Oh my God. So you can find me on Apple and Prime, CandiceGuardino.com. The name of the show is Italian Bred. As my mother said, she went on to Amazon. She was like, I can't find you. I'm like, type in my name. Candice Guardino. And then you can find me. I'm there.
Guys, check her out. Great time with the family to watch. Follow her on her social media. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You both are great.
Have a great day, everybody. Check you out later.